All right, this time around, we're going to be doing a little work on the Trans Am. Last time we got this radiator core support all cleaned up and patched. And I've been working on stripping down this fender. Got it pretty well cleaned up. And we got to fix some rust over here. And the framework in the back, I made a little repair piece because it's rotted away back behind there. And I've got this patch panel that I've had kicking around for a while. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and just chop it about here, cut out this, and we'll have to make a little notch in it for that, which will line up with this. So we're gonna get going on that. All right, so this is what I got going on here. This patch piece is gonna fit in like so, and I want to get this welded up in here first, then I can go ahead and start working on the outside. Now that we got the inner structure all patched up, this is kind of a before and after. We can go on to replacing the outer metal and get all this rust out here removed. All right, got my patch panel cut out, cleaned up, and right here is where it's going to go. It'll set on there like so. And we're going to cut out the old one, leave a little bit, and do the cut and butt. And it's not a perfect fit. This patch panel is aftermarket, but we're gonna make it work. So I'm gonna go ahead and get going on that. Okay, we got this patch pretty well smoothed out. It's a little concave, which is a good thing because you can't fill a high spot. So just a little bit of filler in there and I think that'll look really good. We've got a rust pitted area right here. So I'm gonna cut that out, put this patch right there and smooth it back out. And we've got one other little rust pit right here. So I made a little repair piece that's gonna go in like so. So it's getting kind of dark and late out there, so I think I'm gonna come in tomorrow, do that little patch and that little patch, and then we can go ahead and get this fender and primer. Alright, it's the next day, and while I was waiting for the camera to charge up, I got my little patch all tacked in place, and I'm getting ready to cut out this little rust pit area so I can put my patch piece in here and get this welded up down this bead or this seam right here. I think I'll run a bead on the inside so I can kind of shape it and round it. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting this out and welding it up. Okay, I think we got a pretty good fit there. got it all stripped down and got all my patches done over here and little patch there, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this wiped down and spray it down with some of this epoxy primer. And once that dries, I'll come back tomorrow, mask off the primer, and spray the whole inside with POR 15. Did a little sandblasting, get in the little nooks and crannies that I couldn't reach with the stripper pad. But I think we're ready to go ahead and start getting some primer on this. Alright, after like 6 coats of thin layers, I've got it pretty well sprayed down with the epoxy primer. Just got the hardener in it. Got a few little wrinkles over here that are gonna need to be filled in, and if you look down here real carefully, yeah, you can see a few dings, a little dip in here. But once we get it mounted on the car and line it up with the door, get our gaps right, we'll go ahead and do that little bit of filler here and there, get it all blocked out, and then spray on another couple coats of primer. The sun's going down now, so I think tomorrow I'll come in when this is cured really good and mask off the outside and flip it over and spray the whole inside with POR 15, and I can go ahead and clean up this fender, make a nicer access hole for the blower motor. I like their idea, just not the way they did it with a cutting torch. So we're gonna get that cleaned up and looking good. All right, well, it's the next day and I had a slight change of plans. Instead of just painting the inside of the fender, I decided when I go to mix up the POR 15, I might as well have this one ready to go. So I spent most of the day welding up all the other holes that they had in here, and I cut a piece out of another fender and drilled it and put rib nuts, and this will set up in there like so and be able to bolt it in and unbolt it. So had to kind of shape it a little bit, got a few hammer marks in it, but I'm gonna go ahead and put undercoating on this, so I don't even think that'll show up. So yeah, the whole inside is gonna be undercoated, outside POR 15, and inside of that fender POR 15, and can bolt that to this, set it on the car, fit it with the door, and then I'm going to start stripping down this fender. It's a little bit worse, I think. It's got, you know, some serious rot in it, but that's what we're going to do next. Take this trim piece off and get it all stripped down and do the repair on that, and I think we'll be ready to fit it to our doors. So I'm going to keep on going on this. When I get some more time, I'll spray this and that fender, and once we get everything all bolted together, we can align our gaps and start doing body work on off the little repair areas and little dings here and there. There's a little low spot there and a couple dings here and there, but we'll go over it with the block sander, get it real straight. All right, it's the next day, and it was raining earlier this morning. The rain finally cleared out, and I like to paint in a well-ventilated area, and outdoors is about the most ventilated you can get. But I've got my fender, all of the primer area masked off and ready to spray the inside, and inner fender is all cleaned up, ready to be sprayed down. So I guess we're gonna mix up some 415 and drag these outside and start spraying them down. All right, Mother Nature decided she was going to rain a little bit more, so I got these pulled up in the shop, and we'll close things down, let them dry overnight, and later on this week we can go ahead and start fitting them up to the car. Okay, got one fender done, well, primered anyways, so I'm going to get working on stripping down the other one, get it all cleaned up, do the weld repair on it. Okay, it's a couple days later, and I've got my fender pretty well stripped down all along the outside, but I can't go a whole lot farther without patching up this hole. So, got me a donor piece of metal ready, and I'm gonna go ahead and repair all this area here. Gonna cut out the outer part and then go on the inside, repair that first, and then repair the outside. So we're going to get going on that. Okay, this is what I got going on. I hammer formed this piece of 16 gauge so that I can repair the inner structure and get rid of all of that. And over here, I got this little piece of flat bar to kind of hold the right curvature so it's not bowing in and out. So I'm going to go ahead and start chopping all this rod out and see if we can't get this one in there. Alright, did a little flapper disking to get it to fit really good over here. Got the curvature right. Fits in there pretty nicely just for a flat piece of metal that's hammered out. So I think now we can go ahead and start tacking it in place. I got this piece of 18 gauge fit up in here pretty good, and I put this little crease down here to match the rest. And over here, once I get all this welded up, then I'm gonna go over here and start repairing this little edge right here. Just put in a whole new piece right in there where it's rotted out. And I think after that, this little repair will be pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and start tacking this in. Okay, got it all welded up and smoothed out. Unfortunately, it kind of dipped in right here and maybe a little bit up in here, but I'm gonna have to put a little bit of filler in through there. The whole thing's needs a coat of filler just to kind of even it all out. Unfortunately, this is where you got to get way down to look at it. This curves way up under. So we'll get it fixed up good and fit it to the door. And I think it's getting late tonight, so I'm gonna come back in tomorrow and finish fixing this little edge piece. So we'll see you all tomorrow. All right, it's a couple days later, and I got my driver's fender all painted up inside with POR 15. Got to get all this masking off of there, and also sprayed down the inner fender, and got to get a bunch of stuff going on here. This hinge, it's got a busted spring, And I got another one off the Camaro. It's in good shape. The spring's still intact and all that. So, got to get that changed out. And on my bumper, I got all these little brackets that got to go back on. I took them all off individually and painted them. And these two go here, like so. These other ones go up on the inside and bolt through that one. The little triangular ones go over here. And then I got to rivet on that bumper foam piece. There's 4 rivet spots. And I suppose you're probably wondering how I remember all these brackets went. Yeah, I took a picture. And there's no way you'd figure them out if you didn't. But I'm going to have to bolt that all together. And I got my bumper brackets over here all painted up, ready to go on. They take these special little splined bolts, and you can see the position they were in before where the splines bit into the metal, and same over here on the subframe. So I'm going to try to get those back in the same spot, and from there I can bolt the bumper on. And once I get my door hinge changed, I'm going to go ahead and fit this door on, and then I'm going to have to push the car out, move it over. It's too close to the wall. And I can get the other door on, and I can stick my fenders on and start fitting the bumper, grill, doors, and all of that. I get it aligned if there's any welding or trimming or whatever I need to do. I'm going to do it before we start any of the body work. So after that, I'll leave the doors in place, take the fenders off, clean all this firewall area, jam the doors, paint all the firewall, and then put the fenders back on, get everything aligned, get the rear bumper on, and then I'll spray the whole car at once after all the body work is done. So, got a lot to do. We're going to go ahead and start getting some of this stuff bolted up so we can fit everything. Okay, this threaded backing plate just fell down inside, and it appears that the factory put a tiny tack there, put the hinge on, and then broke the tack to adjust it. So ordinarily these would have a cage in the back to kind of hold them in place to where you can get your adjustment, but I'm gonna have to try to use this bolt that I cut off to kind of make it like a stud and see if I can reach up inside and get it started so it won't fall down. Maybe we can line up our other bolts. Let's see if this is gonna work. Okay, using the camera and my phone, I was able to see the hole from the inside. So, got that bag up in there. Now I think I can go ahead and put my hinge on. Maybe not. There we go. Okay. Another one in here. Oh, come on, stay still. There. Get this back. Same location. Well, let's keep moving on me. So, that worked. All right. All right. Got my door rigged up on the transmission jack. And it's a little warbly, but the transmission jack tilts this way and that way, and hopefully we'll be able to line up these bolts. And so we're gonna see if it's gonna get it in the right position so we can start the bolts and get the door on there. Come this way. Okay, I think I got it adjusted pretty close. Got one started there. So I'm gonna get one in the bottom. It's almost there. Well, the plate wants to slide down. Oh, come on. Okay, I figured out what we're doing wrong. You gotta use the girly fingers. I get right in there and get the bolts started. Yeah, my fingers are too fat. Is this starting? Okay. Let me see.
Yeah, I think you got it.
It's still loose. Can you finger it some more? Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to end wrench it a little ways before the ratchet wrench will start to ratchet. Okay, I think we got them all started. Awesome. All right, got the hinge bolts tightened down, and now I'm going to go ahead and lower this jack down. And of course we know that it's probably not going to be even in the ballpark. So it'll probably be a couple hours of in and out, sideways, up, down, back and forth. But I'm just curious to see if we're even close. So go ahead and lower this down. And get the jack out of the way. And see where we're at. Huh. Well, it's not terrible. It's actually fairly close. We need to go back. Yep. Well, we're actually in the ballpark. Okay. Cool. All right, we're kind of in the ballpark now. We're lining up close. Not good, but close. But I want to get my latch cleaned up and bolted in there so that we can get that adjusted. And I think the front needs to come up. Dug through all the bins and found the latch. And I got it soaking in some parts cleaner. So I think I'm going to come in tomorrow and clean that up a little bit more. Try to put the latch in there and do a little more adjusting. All right, it's the next day and I've got my latch in there and still need to get the little rubber stoppers so it doesn't wiggle like that. But I've got it adjusted to where it needs to be. But when I was putting my quarter on, this door was bent and I didn't have a good reference, and we're a little bit fat right here to where the gap gets smaller. So to correct that, I'm going to come along in here and make a cut and then hammer this back a little bit and then weld it up so that our gap is fairly even. Now on these older F bodies, they just had big gaps, and over here I've got it really close, but then come down here where I did my patch and I'm a little long here, so I'm gonna make a cut here and get it trimmed back to where it needs to be. Then I'll unbolt the fender and weld it up, smooth it out. And you may look at that gap, and on newer cars the gaps are pretty tight, but when you open the door, if your gap is really tight, it will rub on this fender. So you got to have at least a 1/4 inch gap here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing the little fixing here and there to get our gaps even and do a little welding, get it looking good. Okay, we're looking pretty good down here. Got our gap fairly even. But then as you go up here, right in this little curve, I can actually fit my finger in there. So, what I like to do is, I got this 1/8 inch rod. I'd say about right there. Gonna tack it on and then kind of bend it to the curve. And that will fill in this door just a little bit, just to bring it back so it don't, you know, so it looks a lot better. So we're going to go ahead and clean some of this paint off and tack that on there and weld it up solid, smooth it out, and we'll have a fairly even gap all the way up there. Bit high from about right here up to about here, so I'm going to mark this area right here and just shave that down a little bit, and then we'll close the door again and see how it looks. I'm happy with that. Okay, we took a little way out down here and added a little bit up here, and we're getting pretty close. Maybe a little bit more shaving off up here, but other than that, I think we're looking fairly decent. But it's getting a little late out there, so I think I'll come in tomorrow and work on this terrible gap here where I did my patch. Kind of came over a little bit too far, so we'll cut that back, hammer it over, weld it up, smooth it out, try to get this gap even up here. So, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Okay, I think we got our gaps pretty even on this side of the car, and can open and close the door without it rubbing. And like I was saying earlier, on these F bodies, the gap on them is pretty big. They're about 1/4 of an inch. It have to be so that the way the door is shaped, it would rub right here real bad if you try to tighten up this gap. So got this all welded up and smoothed out. We've got this cut back and smoothed out. We got a little bit added up here. So I think now I can move on to the other side. But doing this side took a lot longer than I thought. I thought by now I'd have both sides done and my gap's good. So I think that's going to have to be for the next video. And once we get that all straightened out, I'm going to get my hood hinges cleaned up, get the hood over there sanded down, cleaned up, and make sure that the way we got the fenders adjusted, that the hood's going to fit and all that good stuff. So also we got to put our bumper on, the bumper cover, line it up to the front of the fenders, all that good stuff. We want to get everything straight before we even start the body work. So we appreciate y'all watching, and I think that's going to be about it for this video.